There's a difference in width between a regular chain, it's a regular heavy duty chain, and an O-ring chain. And I don't know if they're, I don't know what DID chain, or it probably says it on the side, but this chain was worn out, the O-ring chain. I never get 20,000 miles out of these anyway. But I decided to put a regular chain on. First off, this was 28 bucks. It's an RK, made in Malaysia, but it's a Japanese company. The RK is known as a good chain. It's a stock chain. Now, what I did was on a Sportster, the older Sportsters, I don't know if it's, I think it's from the early 90s back or something. They got a 130 90 16 tire. I put the next size up, a 140 90 16, and that makes it 4/10 of an inch wider, so 2/10 of an inch difference on each side of the tire. Now you can see the difference in this width of this chain. Actually, this regular standard chain is about as close to the tire, the oversized tire, as this O-ring chain is to the stock tire. So this actually gives it enough clearance. Now I'm going to tell you something else here in a second, but just want to tell you a little bit about the tire sizes first. So it's got a 130 90 16. So why go to a 140 90 16? Well, the reason is you got like over 100 pounds more load capacity on the tire itself, maximum load capacity. Now, the tire, the 140 90 16, is actually just a little bit taller, but the speedometer gear is driven off the front wheel, so it doesn't make a difference. Now, you could get a 140 85 16. That is the exact same height, well, within like, hundredths of an inch. I mean, really, it's virtually exactly the same height. The 140 85 16 is virtually the same height as the 130 90 16 stock tire. But the 140 85 16 and the 140 90 16 have the same width. So they're about 4/10 of an inch wider than the stock 130 90 16 tire. Now the 140 85 16, it also has that higher load capacity, so it'll hold like over 100 pounds more. That doesn't mean the bike will do it, but it gives you an extra margin of safety if you got like a secondary rider on there, you're holding a passenger. Now here's where I found something out. They have a new, I think it's from RK too, that they got a new product. Yeah, it is from RK. It's made for like the older bikes, like Triumphs and stuff, where they use a different O-ring design. It's thinner O-ring design. It's still you still can get the 530 chain, and it's got it's very strong. It's a very strong chain, but it's about as wide as the standard chain. And the reason they came out with that was this way: the older bikes that didn't have clearances for the O-ring chains, like some of the old Triumphs, you can run an O-ring chain with them because it's a thinner O-ring, and it still gives you all the the extra 3 or 4 times more life and stuff. But I'm going to see, but it's not cheap. It's like, I think it's over 150 bucks. But every single O-ring chain I saw from a quality manufacturer was like at least 120 bucks. They're way up there. And I don't know why a standard chain is. And this is not a cheap chain. It's a good chain. It's a quad riveted stuff. It's an RK. I guess it's a lot cheaper to make them without O-rings, And I'm thinking I'm going to see how long it lasts, because if it lasts, say it lasts half as long, I say I get 5,000 or miles out of it, or even more, I'm not going to be putting O-ring chains on it anyway. But if it doesn't last hardly at all, I'm going to put an O-ring chain of the special kind that is as narrow as this. This way I can run the 140 90 16 tire on it. And the reason I went with the 140 instead of the 140 90 versus the 140 85 is, even though it's just a tiny bit taller, I can use all this, like all the highway gearing I could possibly get on that bike, because I'm running 23 46 sprockets. So, but I might set up an oiler with this or something. I don't know. I got a little leak on one of my lifter blocks. I might use that leak as my oiler, my automatic oiler. So who knows? But That's one thing. That's one consideration. Some people are actually converting belt drives to chains. I personally wouldn't do that, but I'm not. I don't think the belt is such a bad idea at all because it's like it is no muss, no fuss. But I don't know. I got a chain. I'm just gonna leave it as a chain. Hell with it. And they're not that bad. They're not bad to change out. I may be putting a kicker on my 883 Sportster because it's only an 883, and it'd be good to have a kicker. I'm actually emailed Lead Sled about, they probably know right off the bat because of the different. I think the exhaust pipe in the back would be a problem with the relocation of the rear master cylinder for the brake. But it's minor. But I'll probably do that in the wintertime sometime when it's not as Florida you can ride all year, but there's a couple days in the winter it's kind of cold. But I'll be doing it then probably if I do it. But I'm not much into modifying bikes just for the hell of it. Usually there's some practical reason behind it. But if you have a chain, I would not change it to a belt. Keep the chains. They're pretty good. They're not bad. They're not bad at all. They're not that hard to change. Yeah, this is the chain I was talking about. If you want to put it on a bike that you don't have a room for the chain, you want to use a O-ring chain. This one's got thinner O-rings on it. It's made specific for vintage motorcycles and stuff. It's called the UWR RK chain. So if you look down here on the chart, this is the only chart I ever saw, not that part, but this part right here. You could see max width chain width, right, in millimeters, right? And you're showing like, okay, that's a 5, so I got a 530 chain. So if you're looking at a 530 chain, it would be this one, drag specific. You got 24.7 and 26.6, right? These down here. So I got, what I was showing you here was this one. Here they're showing it's for 30 horsepower. I don't think so, but anyway, it's 21.7 millimeters. So an O-ring chain will usually be like quite a bit wider, right? It'll be like 25 or 26. So you see here's a 530 chain right here. Going across, it's 25 and a half. So that's why, sometimes you're running some clearance issues. So here's the one. This one right here says new, right? 530 ultra thin sealed for vintage bikes. Showing up to 150 horsepower, 22.7. So it's only 1 millimeter wider overall, so half a millimeter on each side, of the chain. 1 millimeter wider overall than the M530. So I could run that chain. I could run this chain too, and it is a sealed O-ring chain. So if you got, that's one way around. So if you have like the older Sportster and you want to run a bigger tire on it, one size up, and you got the chain, well, you can use a regular chain. It's thinner. It's not as wide. It should be okay on the tire clearances, but you can also run this particular O-ring chain. You got to remember, when you're talking these widths over here, like you got different sizes, 520, 525, 530. So on a Sportster, it's a 530 chain, right? Normally they're about, 25, 24 and a half to 26 millimeters. Or even this one here is 26 and a half, 26.6 millimeters, right? But you're good to go with this one, ultra thin sealed 530 UWR. And I saw it on Amazon, actually. So I couldn't even find where they're selling this on any of the bike places. I saw it on Amazon, believe it or not. So just want to point that out, show you where this link is. This is the only web page I ever found where they tell you the width of the chain. So now this chain I got, it says wear life 100, right? And I don't know how to rate this stuff. It's ludicrous. Here to say wear life 3100 for that one. That's the the O-ring chain. Or some wear life over 4,000, right? It don't last 40 times longer. I have never got. I think the most I ever got on a freaking O-ring chain was like maybe a little over 10,000 miles. They don't last. So I'm trying out a non-O-ring chain. I'm just going to keep it oiled, see how long it lasts, because I don't think there isn't a hell of a big difference in for the price. You know, this one runs $28, and these other ones run like 130 plus. So, but anyway, I'll point you the link where this is, and it's the only time I saw this. RK makes a good chain, very good chain. So, you know, this one, yeah, they show you right there. It's like a millimeter more. You know, you can handle that. They can handle it, no problem.